Neuromancer. William Gibson. Henry Dorset Case is a low-level hustler in the dystopian underworld of Chiba City, Japan. Once a talented computer hacker, Case was caught stealing from his employer. As a punishment for his theft, Case's central nervous system was damaged, leaving him unable to access the global computer network in cyberspace Matrix. Unemployable, addicted to drugs, and suicidal, Case desperately searches for the Chiba Black Clinics for a miracle cure. Case is saved by Molly Millions, an augmented street samurai and mercenary for a shadowy ex-military officer named Armitage, who offers to cure Case in exchange for his services as a hacker. But he soon discovers from Armitage that sacs of the poison that first crippled him have been placed in his blood vessels as well. Armitage promises Case that if he completes his work on time, the sacs will be removed. Armitage assigns them their first job. They must steal a ROM module that contains the saved consciousness of one of Case's mentors, legendary cyber cowboy McCoy Polly, nicknamed Dixie Flatline. A street gang named the Panther Moderns is hired to create a simulated terrorist attack on SenseNet. The diversion allows Molly to penetrate the building and steal Dixie's ROM. Case and Molly continue to investigate Armitage, discovering his former identity of Colonel Willis Corto. Corto was a member of Operation Screaming Fist, which planned on infiltrating and disrupting Soviet computer systems from ultralight aircraft dropped over Russia. Corto was visited by a government military official and then medically rebuilt to be able to provide what he came to realize was fake testimony, designed to mislead the public and protect the military officers who had covered up knowledge of the EMP weapons. After the trials, Corto snapped, killing the government official who had contacted him and then disappearing into the criminal underworld. Wintermute's nature is finally revealed. It is one half of a super AI, artificial intelligence entity, planned by the family, although its exact purpose is unknown. Case is tasked with entering cyberspace to pierce the Turing-imposed software barriers using a powerful icebreaker program. Finally, Armitage becomes the shattered Corto again, but his newfound personality is short-lived, as he is killed when Wintermute ejects him through an airlock into space. Case manages to escape after Malcolm gives him an overdose of a drug that can bypass his augmented liver and pancreas. Wintermute unites with Neuromancer, fusing into a super-consciousness. The poison in Case's bloodstream is washed out, and he and Molly are profusely paid for their efforts, while Polly's ROM construct is apparently erased at his own request. In the epilogue, Wintermute and Neuromancer contact him, saying that it has become the sum total of the works, the whole show, and has begun looking for other AIs like itself. In the end, while logged into the Matrix, Case catches a glimpse of himself, his dead girlfriend Linda Lee, and Neuromancer. The implication of the sighting is that Neuromancer created a copy of Case's consciousness when it previously tried to trap him. The copy of Case's consciousness now exists with that of Linda's in the Matrix, where they are together forever.
Light, John Milton. Hail, holy light, of spring of heaven firstborn, or of the eternal co-eternal being. May I express thee unblamed, since God is light, and never but an unapproached light, dwelt from eternity, dwelt in thee, bright effluence of bright essence increate, Or hearest thou rather pure ethereal stream, whose fountain who shall tell? Before the sun, before the heavens thou wert, and at the voice of God, as with a mantle didst invest, the rising world of waters dark and deep, one from the void and formless infinite. Thee I revisit now with bolder wing, escapest thy Stygian pool, though long detained in that obscure sojourn, while my flight through utter and through middle darkness borne. With other notes than to the Euphorian lyre, I sung of chaos and eternal night, taught by the heavenly muse to venture down the dark descent and up to reascend. Though hard and rare, thee I revisit safe, and feel thy sovereign vital lamp. But thou revisitest not these eyes that rowl in vain, to find thy piercing ray and find no dawn. So thick a drop serene has quenched their orbs, or dim suffusion veiled. But not the more cease I wander where the muses haunt, clear spring, or shady grove, or sunny hill. Smit with the love of sacred song, but chief thee Sion and the flowery brooks beneath, that wash thy hallowed feet and warbling flow. Nightly I visit, nor sometimes forget those other who equaled with me in fate. So were I equaled with them in renown. Fly Therimes, and fly Myonides, and Tiresias and Phineus, prophets old. Then feed on thoughts that voluntary move, harmonious numbers as the wakeful bird sings darkling and in shadiest covert hid, tunes her nocturnal note. Thus with the year seasons return, but not to me returns day, or the sweet approach of evening or morn, or sight of vernal bloom, or summer's rose, or flocks, or herds, or human face divine. But cloud and steed, and ever during dark, surrounds me, from the cheering wide of men cut off, and from the brook of knowledge fair, presented with a universal blank of nature works to me expunged and raised, and wisdom at one entrance quiet shut out. So much the rather thou celestial light shine inward, and the mind through all her powers irradiate. There plant eyes all mists from thence, purge and disperse, that I may see and tell of things visible to mortal sight.
Ode to Beauty, Ralph Waldo Emerson. Who gave thee, O beauty, the keys of this breast, to credulous lover, or blessed and unblessed? Say when in lapsed ages thee knew I of old, or what was the service for which I was sold? When first my eyes saw thee, I found me thy thrall, by magical drawings, sweet tyrant of all. I drank at thy fountain, false waters of thirst, thou intimate stranger, thou latest and first. The dangerous glances make woman of men. Newborn we are melting into nature again. Lavish, lavish promiser, nigh persuading gods to err, guest of million painted forms, which in turn thy glory warms. The frailest leaf, the mossy bark, the acorn's cup, the raindrop's arc, the swinging spider's silver line, the ruby of the drop of wine, the shining pebble of the pond, thou inscribest with a bond, in thy momentary play, would bankrupt nature to repay. Ah, what avails it to hide or to shun, whom the Infinite One hath granted his throne? The heaven high over is the deep's lover, the sun and sea, informed by thee, before me run and draw me on. Yet fly me still, as fate refuses to me the hard fate for me chooses. Is it that my opulent soul was mingled from the generous whole? Sea valleys and the deep of skies furnished several supplies, and the sands whereof I'm made draw me to them self-betrayed. I turn the proud portfolios which hold the grand design of Salvator, of Guercino, and Parnassus lines. I hear the lo-fi pains of the masters of the shell, who heard the starry music and recount the numbers well. Olympian bards who sung divine ideas below, which always find us young and always keep us so. Oft in streets or humblest places, I detect far-wandered graces, which from Eden, wide astray, in lowly home have lost their way. Thee gliding through the sea of form, like the lightning through the storm, somewhat not to be possessed, somewhat not to be caressed. No feet so fleet could ever find, no perfect form could ever bind. Thou eternal fugitive, hovering over all that live, quick and skillful to inspire, sweet extravagant desire, starry space and lily bell, filling with my roseate smell, wilt not give the lips to taste of the nectar which thou hast. All that's good and great with thee stands in deep conspiracy. Thou hast bribed the dark and lonely to report thy features only, and the cold and purple morning itself with thoughts of thee adorning. The leafy dell, the city mart, equal trophies of thine art, and the flowing azure air thou hast touched for my despair. And if I languish into dreams, again I meet the ardent beams. Queen of things, I dare not die in being's deeps past the ear and eye, lest there I find the same deceiver, and be the sport of fate forever. Dread power, but dear, if God thou be, unmake me quiet, or give thyself to me. One touch, Karen Thompson. If you are here, I'll take the measure of your skin with my fingers. Just a little brush across your arm, to blend myself with you in a small, unobtrusive way, not to wake you, not to demand your attention, not to disturb your dreaming, but simply to stake my claim on your next breath in the words you would speak to me. Hush, come closer. If you are here, I would wrap my thoughts around you and take you with me into a world that would allow no apologies for need, or the ones that surface when the dark presses too close to leave any room for sleep, and imagination becomes more a torment than a virtue. This constant whirling of words and images from a past and future that engulfs now and chokes the air with disturbances that leach the tears from my eyes and leave me trembling. I hold the memory of you in my blood, in my bones, in my skin, in my eyes reflected in the mirror. Did you dream me into being, or did my reality separate into the half that is alone and the half that is missing without you? When we are lost in our days, we can choose the means of touch. But here, in the geography of alone, all maps birth confusion, descending to blind corridors narrow with the wanting that accepts no solace without the touch that is denied.
The Tempest, James T. Fields. We were crowded in the cabin, not a soul would dare to sleep. It was midnight on the waters, and a storm was on the deep. 'Tis a fearful thing in winter, to be shattered by the blast, and to hear the rattling trumpet, thunder, cut away the mast. So we shuddered there in silence, for the stoutest held his breath, while the hungry sea was roaring, and the breakers threatened death. And as thus we sat in darkness, each one busy in his prayers, "We are lost," the captain shouted, as he staggered down the stairs. "We are lost," the captain shouted, as he staggered down the stairs. But his little daughter whispered, as she took his icy hand, "Isn't God upon the ocean just the same as on land?" Then we kissed the little maiden, and we spoke in better cheer, and we anchored safe in harbor, when the morn was shining clear.
A Dream Within a Dream. Edgar Allan Poe. Take this kiss upon the brow, and in parting from you now, thus much let me avow, you are not wrong who deem that my days have been a dream. Yet if hope has flown away in a night or in a day, in a vision or in none, is it therefore the less gone? All that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream. I stand amid the roar of a surf-tormented shore, and I hold within my hand grains of the golden sand. How few, yet how they creep through my fingers to the deep, while I weep. O God, can I not grasp them with a tighter clasp? O God, can I not save one from the pitiless wave? Is all that we see or seem but a dream within a dream? To Helen too, Edgar Allan Poe. I saw thee once only, years ago. I must not say how many, but not many. It was a July midnight, and from out a full-orbed moon, that, like thine own soul, soaring, sought a precipitate pathway up through heaven. There fell a silvery silken veil of light, with quietude and sultriness and slumber, upon the upturned faces of 1,000 roses that grew in an enchanted garden, where no wind dared disturb, unless on tiptoe, fell on the unturned faces of these roses that gave out, in return for the love light, their odious souls in an ecstatic death, fell on the upturned faces of these roses that smiled and died in this parterre, enchanted by thee and by the poetry of thy presence, clad all in white upon a violet bank. I saw thee half reclining, while the moon fell on the upturned faces of the roses, and on thy own upturned, alas, in sorrow. Was it not fate that, on this July midnight, was it not fate, whose name is also sorrow, that bade me pause before that garden gate, to breathe the incense of those slumbering roses? No footstep stirred the hated world and slept, save only thee and me. O heaven, O God, how my heart beats in coupling those two words. Save only thee and me. I paused, I looked, and in an instant all things disappeared. All, bear in mind this garden was enchanted. The pearly luster of the moon went out. The mossy banks and the meandering paths, the happy flowers and the repining trees were seen no more. The very roses' odors died in the arms of the adoring airs. All expired save thee, save less than thou, save only the divine light in thine eyes, save but the soul in thine uplifted eyes. I saw but them, they were the world to me. I saw but them, saw only them for hours, saw only them until the moon went down. What wild heart histories seemed to be enwritten upon those crystalline celestial spheres. How dark a woe, yet how sublime a hope. How silently serene a sea of pride. How daring an ambition, yet how deep. How fathomless a capacity for love. But now, at length, dear Diane sank from sight into a western couch of thundercloud, and thou, a ghost, amid the entombing trees, didst glide away. Only thine eyes remained. They would not go, they never yet have gone, lighting my lonely path home that night. They have not left me, as my hopes have since. They follow me, they lead me through the years. They are my ministers, yet I their slave. Their office is to illumine and enkindle. My duty, to be saved by their bright light, and purified in their electric fire, and sanctified in their Elysian fire. They fill my soul with beauty, which is hope, and are far up in heaven, the stars I kneel to, in the sad, silent watches of my night, while even in the meridian glare of day, I see them still, two sweetly scintillant Venuses, unextinguished by the sun. Sonnet 18. William Shakespeare. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Thou art more lovely and more temperate. Rough winds do shake the darling buds of May, and summer's lease hath all too short a date. Some time too hot the eye of heaven shines, and often is his gold complexion dimmed. And every fair from fair sometime declines, by chance or nature's changing course untrimmed. But thy eternal summer shall not fade, nor lose possession of that fair thou owest. Nor shall death brag thou wanderest in his shade, when in eternal lines to time thou growest. So long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee. Once by the Ocean, Robert Frost. The shattered water made a misty din. Great waves looked over others coming in, and thought of doing something to the shore the water never did to land before. The clouds were low and hairy in the skies, like locks blown forward in the gleam of eyes. You could not tell, and yet it looked as if the shore was lucky in being backed by cliff. The cliff is being backed by continent. It looked as if a night of dark intent was coming, and not only a night, an age. Someone had better be prepared for rage. There would be more than ocean water broken before God's last put out the light was spoken. She Walks in Beauty by Lord Byron. She walks in beauty like the night of cloudless climes and starry skies, and all that's best of dark and bright meet in her aspect and her eyes, thus mellowed to that tender light which heaven to gaudy day denies. One shade the more, one ray the less, had half impaired the nameless grace which waves in every raven tress, or softly lightens o'er her face, where thoughts serenely sweet express. How pure, how dear their dwelling place. And on that cheek, and o'er that brow, so soft, so calm, yet eloquent, the smiles that win, the tints that glow, but tell of days in goodness spent, a mind at peace with all below, a heart whose love is innocent. Ode to Autumn by John Keats. Season of mists and mellow fruitfulness, close blossom friend of the maturing sun, conspiring with him how to load and bless, with fruit the vines that round the thatched eaves run, to bend with apples the mossed cottage trees, and fill all fruit with ripeness to the core, to swell the gourd and plump the hazel shells, with a sweet kernel to set budding more, and still more later flowers for the bees, until they think warm days will never cease. For summer has o'erbrimmed with clammy cells. Who hath not seen thee oft amid thy store? Sometimes whoever seeks abroad may find thee sitting careless on a granary floor, thy hair soft lifted by the winnowing wind, or a half-reaped furrow sound asleep, drowsed with the fume of poppies, while thy hook spares the next swath and all its twined flowers. And sometimes, like a gleaner thou dost keep, steady thy laden head across a brook, or by a cider press, with patient look, thou watchest the last oozing, hour by hour. Where are the songs of spring? Aye, where are they? Think not of them, thou hast thy music too, while barred clouds bloom the soft dying day, and touch the stubble plains with rosy hue. Then in a wailful choir the small gnats mourn, among the river sorrows borne aloft, or sinking as the light wind lives or dies, and full-grown lambs loud bleat from hilly bourne. Hedge crickets sing, and now with treble soft, the red-breast whistles from a garden croft, and gathering swallows twitter in the skies.